midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Watford for the win! Yes! Yes!
And a superior team all season long was the superior team tonight. And the Kentucky coronation is complete. Champions 2012.
And welcome back to Hot and Cold Podcast. Today we got a different kind of episode for you. It's not me and Connor today. It's me and Bryson. If you're a real one, you remember Bryson on the podcast Waves. But today what we're going to be doing is I think we did this for a segment for one episode last year. But if you don't know, Bryson is our kind of talent evaluator a little bit. He was our scout kind of, looking at all these different recruits, but now we're in the portal and there's a bunch of guys that nobody's really heard of, nobody's really seen play. We got 3 guys we're going to go over today, and then we're keeping it very micro here. We have one that just committed to Kentucky, one that has serious interest from Kentucky, and one that has interest from IU. And I think doing this, it'll help, kind of more knowledge on these players as we go. And look, I'm going to give Bryson a little bit of credibility here. Last year when we did this, he evaluated Shaedon Sharpe. That was the first evaluation I gave to him. I think Shaedon Sharpe was ranked top like 80, something like that. It wasn't anywhere close. And Bryson said this is the number 1 player in the country. Fast forward to today, kid is maybe the number 1 pick in the draft if he's ruled eligible. So before we get started, Bryson, how are we doing today?
Doing really well. It's good to be back on here and ready to finish up these classes, man.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. If at IU, we're done on May 6th, but I'm done a little bit earlier than that. So I think we're all ready for the summer. We got a lot of off-season content coming your way. But we can hop right into it actually. So I think the best way to do this is I think we're going to bury the lead. There's somebody who I'm seriously excited to hear your opinion on because he's the most intriguing prospect in the portal right now, in my opinion. So we'll bury the lead. We'll go last on that. But the first one I want to get to is somebody that just committed to Kentucky today. And if you're listening to this a few days later on April 27th, his name is Antonio Reeves, a kid from Illinois State, averaged 20 points per game on 39% 3-point shooting. I know those are the stats that everybody wants to look at when they're evaluating prospects. But Bryson, tell me a little bit about this kid.
Yeah, so Reeves coming from Illinois State, 6'6", so he's got good size. He's got the fluid ability to kind of play the 2 or the 3, so he gives you a little bit of a versatility there. He's more of an on-the-ball kind of player. I think he can easily play off it. He's got a pretty good spot-up shot, and he could definitely play off-ball and let Severe create, but I think where his strength at is kind of breaking people down, having the ball in his hands. Very shifty, got a very good handle. You watch a lot of the clips that he's in, he's breaking people down. He's kind of a number of moves combined, so it's not just a pretty simple crossover go, it's crossover, step back between the legs, and then kind of break it down. So I think that's a plus if you're a Kentucky fan. I mean, he can break people down, and I think that's maybe a little bit of what they lacked this year is other than Severe having someone to take someone off the dribble.
When Ty did get hurt, that's what kind of killed him, because when when he lost that mobility, there wasn't a lot. It was a lot of standing around in it, and obviously Kellen was they didn't have to move off him. So I think that's.
And you mentioned Kellen. I mean, you watch him shoot spot ups. I think he can fill that role easily, and then you add in the ability that he has the ability to create his own shot, maybe a little bit better than Kellen did. So
yeah,
I think at the very worst, you got a little bit of an upgrade there. Good range as well. He takes threes a couple feet back from the line. I mean, I'm not going to say volleyball line range, but I mean, he's got good range. It's extended past the 3-point line, so he can shoot the ball really well.
Mhm.
Another thing that I was really impressed with was his ability to stop on a dime and change direction like that. I think that in itself is very impressive, and that helps him kind of break people down and change directions, get by people. So I think that's pretty impressive. I did have two maybe concerns, and I don't think that they're weaknesses. I just think that they have the ability to be improved upon is the vision. I don't think he's going to be the best passer right away, and maybe he doesn't have to be with playing next to Severe. I
Mhm.
think Severe will take a lot of that playmaking ability, so maybe he doesn't have to be main ball handler, pass the ball. But I thought maybe the vision could improve a bit. And then I was a little bit concerned, and maybe a question of how he will handle more physical guards. A lot of the people that he faces, he's got a more of a skinnier frame. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
he's weak, but maybe in the SEC, a little bit more physical than Illinois State, whoever they played. So
Missouri Valley. Shout out to
yeah,
UE. Yeah.
so I don't know if that's going to be an issue or not. I just a question of maybe how will he handle that. And other than that, he's very good at creating his own shot, and I think that's what Kentucky fans are looking for, and might be music to their ears.
No, definitely. So I don't know if you have if you have any for all of these players, because it's kind of hard to do. Do you have a comp for him? And I know that's a very hard thing to do, but that's what creates music to these people's ears.
So Antonio Reeves was actually one that I was really struggling with coming up with a comp for. I have one for
Okay.
the other two that we have.
I can give you one in my opinion. I'm not the scout by any means. Emmanuel Quickly. I saw a lot of
Yeah, I
Emmanuel
see
Quickly
it.
in his
I
game.
see
Okay.
it. You know, I might even go kind of the same year. I'm thinking more Tyrese Maxey.
Okay.
I think his shot's a little bit more, I wouldn't say unorthodox. It's just not as natural
Mhm.
as others. And I think it reminds me a little bit of Maxey. And I think Maxey also had that ability to stop on a dime, change direction, and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
maybe a little bit more shifty. Um, I like Quickly. I think Maxey would be another kind of good comp
Yeah.
there for him too.
I think something that impressed me when I'm watching kind of this tape, and you may have dove deeper into it than I did, but I just watched, a few different clips on Twitter that I saw, is his ability to kind of shoot very quickly. Like his quick release is amazing. I saw one clip where he took somebody off the dribble, then step back, froze the guy, didn't even bring the ball down. He shot it from his like neck, and I was like, that's incredible. Like he didn't bring the ball down to his chest, and it was incredible to watch. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if you watch a lot of his games and some of his clips, it seems like the step back's actually his go-to. I mean, he
yeah.
likes crossover, set him up into the step back, and
Mhm.
as you mentioned, he does get that shot off pretty quickly. And he's 6'6", so it's not like, I mean, you throw anyone too much taller on him, he's just gonna blow by him. So I
Yeah,
don't think he has to worry about height for his shot or anything like that. So
yeah. All
yeah.
right, so let's move on because I know Indiana fans are probably screaming into their phone right now. But we can go on to Dexter Dennis. This is a guy whose name has been linked to IU for forever, like since the offseason started, I feel like. And look, this is a guy I'm really interested to hear because unfortunately his stats will not show that he is, the player that IU fans want. He averages 8.4 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1.6 assists. But I think and his percentages aren't great at all. 35% from the field, 29.7% from the three. And I'm not saying that to like a signal that he's a bad player. I'm just saying his stats just don't jump off. And look, trust Mike Woods in his scouting. He's an NBA guy. He gets it. But I think the selling point in Dexter Dennis is his defense. So I am interested to hear your kind of comp, your talent evaluation on Dexter Dennis for the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, so I as you mentioned, I kind of fell victim to looking at the stats and then going from there. Obviously, the points per game isn't super ideal compared to some of these other people in the portal. And then as Indiana fans, the last 3 or 4 years, all we've really fixated on is can he shoot the three? And you look at the 29% and you're like, oh boy, just cross him off the list. But then you watch him and then you kind of understand kind of where that is and where his ability's at. But first thing that really jumps out to you is super athletic. I mean, he's 6'5", but I mean, he's guarded 6'8", 6'9" with ease. As you mentioned, Sam, I think he was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year, so he's a very good defender. Can honestly guard 1 through 3, and he can probably guard undersized fours. He's got a good build. He's pretty strong for a 2-guard. Offensively, he gets downhill and beats his man with ease. A lot of the times, I mean, you're that athletic, you're that quick, you're gonna be able to kind of get to your spots when you want it. And I wouldn't say he's a great playmaker, but he's definitely shown the ability and flashes to create for others. And so I think that's pretty good. And then looking at it, obviously some weaknesses. I think the last 2 or 3 years, he's kind of forced some stuff more. And I don't know if that's because of he feels like he's had to, or his role has grown. And
could be a product of the team around him as well, because Wichita State was not good this year, and his number, and I'll get to his numbers a little bit more, kind of dive deeper, but his numbers did take a dip kind of in, parallel with that. So
right. And so that kind of led to some bad shots. I thought he really struggled more off the dribble pull-ups and shooting off the dribble. Whereas you kind of look at it, and when someone creates for him and he's standing open and it's a catch and shoot three, he's actually pretty good. So I think a lot of the percentages had to do with him trying to do too much, trying to create for himself and shooting off the dribble. And then that's kind of where you get in trouble. So, and then another thing, I thought he could be too aggressive at times. I think maybe, you want to play fast, you want to do everything at 100 miles per hour, but sometimes I think toning it down and reeling it in could benefit him. But I mean, that seems to be, that's Xavier Johnson. I mean, they're both kind of same mentality. And then my comp for Dexter Dennis was Matisse Thybulle. I thought, both kind of good defenders, could guard 1 through 4 and were okay 3-point shooters, but that's obviously their calling card isn't going to be offense. It's going to be, I'm going to guard you until you get too tired.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I do want to, that's not a bad comp. I do believe that is something that could happen. I don't think IU fans will love to hear that, because Matisse Thybulle is not a good 3-point shooter anymore. I think that's kind of the narrative on it. But there is something, and this is something Mike Schumann said, if you tuned into the last podcast. If you haven't, go listen to it. It's a very informative interview, whatever. He shot 40% from threes freshman year, and ever since then, it has dropped each and every year. So I think that could be a good sign. That could also be a bad sign. That obviously means there was something in the tank. It's not like he was playing 5 minutes per game. He was averaging 26 minutes a game his freshman year, and he was shooting 40% from three. So there's something to that. I'm very interested to see if he ends up in Bloomington. Obviously, it's not over till it's over, but that seems to be the pick. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, as a freshman, you're kind of coming in. You're not the main scorer. You're not the main ball handler on your team. So it's a lot of people creating for you. And I think that's kind of where the percentage, why he was so good his freshman year, is he was getting a lot more open looks and just standing still and shooting. And, if he's coming to Bloomington, and let's just say he ends up here and he ends up starting, I mean, he's probably going to not be the main ball handler. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe being that 4th or 5th offensive option benefits him a lot, where he doesn't have to feel like he has to force shots or take contested shots. So offensively, if he comes here, I wouldn't be like, man, like we just crushed it in the portal. But I think in his role and what he would be asked to do, I think it would be a pretty good fit.
So this is kind of a question. So you saw with Miller Kopp, I feel like there was a lot of pressure on him to perform. And I think that kind of hurt him in his 3-point percentage a little bit in the long run. But you said the pressure of kind of forcing his own shot, creating whatever. Is there that same type of pressure in the inverse to where he has one job that he has to complete, and if he doesn't complete it, then he's not going to be on the court. Like, because there's good defenders on this team. There's good defenders on this Indiana team, and I don't think Trey Galloway and Dexter Dennis. I don't know if there's that big of a gap. I mean, no offense to Dexter Dennis, but he was playing in the American Athletic Conference. You're going into Big Ten. Trey Galloway was locking up some really good Big Ten guards. So I don't know what the gap is there. But is there that kind of pressure there, and that there isn't in some weird sense?
Yeah, no, I think in a way you definitely make a good point. If this dude's scoring on Dexter Dennis, then like, what's he bringing to you? But
yeah,
on the flip side, I mean, defense is all about mainly effort. And quickness. So I think in a way, like, you can have all that pressure, but defense. I mean, you see people like Jose Alvarado and Patrick Beverly, like stars of the playoff, and it's not because they're anything special. They're just working their butt off. And so I think in a way you could take that as you're here for defense, and anything you bring on offense is a bonus. And if you're not performing defensively, then what are you doing out there?
Which you make a really good point. It's like defense is way more consistent than offense, and I think that's something that, if you're a good defender, I think you can count on that more or less showing up every night, barring foul trouble. So,
which also could be an issue with the way. I mean, he's a very aggressive, very physical defender, and the Big Ten's not been adept at calling some tic-tac fouls, but you could run into that issue very easily with him of foul trouble. It could be a very Xavier Johnson type of thing.
So me and Connor were talking about this on the podcast. Now that I finally got you on, so we were talking about, there's the potential of running, 10 guys. Indiana probably will run 10 guys, and if adding Dexter Dennis. So I just want to know what you kind of think the starting lineup will look like. I think we've had a few different opinions on it. We had Schumann on. Schumann had a completely different opinion than both of us. So I am interested to hear what do you think this lineup will look like? Say you add Dexter Dennis on, for the first game of the season.
I've got a differing opinion on what it should look like and what it will look like.
Okay, perfect. This is like what we like to hear right here.
What I think it will look like is, I think it'll be Xavier, Dennis. I honestly have no idea what the preferred three would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it'd be Race. And I don't want to assume Trace is back, but I think
let's assume Trace is back. Yes.
I think that's kind of what the narrative is he's coming back. So I think it'll be those four. I think it'll be Race, Trace, Dennis, Johnson. And then I think the three is going to be a crapshoot up in the air.
Yeah.
What my personal starting five would be, and I keep going back and forth on this, I think I would still keep Dennis and Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would go Kopp at the 3, Geronimo at the 4, and then Trace at the 5.
Okay, that's what Schumann said. Yes, he would like Geronimo in the starting lineup. Yeah,
I don't think Jordan should be played at the 3 either. I think he's a 4, and I think that's where you got to keep him. And then kind of off the bench, you have Gallo, Bates, Hood-Schifino, Renault, Thompson. And then that kind of gives you the ability to play 10 guys and not really have a significant drop off.
And I think that's a problem. That's a problem. You do have to, if you're going with this NBA philosophy of playing all 10 guys and kind of not a platoon, but a makeshift platoon, there can't be a significant drop off. That can't happen. And we've talked about it ad nauseum here. And like it obviously happened in the St. Mary's game. When IU was keeping it close and they put in their bench lineup and they just got derailed. And so, that's something, if Woodson wants to keep that going, he will have to even out the lineups. And I don't think everybody can fall in love with the starters You know, like he can't just run his best five if he's planning on doing this rotation. And so, but I think there is, if he is willing to kind of change that up and, you know, go in a college rotation, you know, go and when you're playing 8 guys, you know, like a regular college would. I honestly, if you were asking me to construct a lineup, and I know nobody is, I would run Xavier, Hood-Schifino by the end of the year.
Yep.
And then Dexter, Geronimo, and Trace. And then I think you have a few guys that you can take off the bench. And, you know, I don't know how much time Renault's going to see this year, but then you got, you know, Bates, Race, and Galloway to kind of provide that spark off the bench. And I think that's something that would maybe be good for this Indiana team. That's kind of my opinion, but I could be completely wrong. I don't follow it as hard as you guys do, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, no, what I think that will happen, and I think that is actually a good thing, is I think they're going to start Hood-Schifino and Renault off the bench. I think what you're going to see what Rob kind of had last year, where he was maybe first or second guy off the bench and had good minutes. I think you're going to initially see Jalen do that and kind of ease him in that way. And then, I mean, you saw Rob close a lot of games. I mean, if Hood-Schifino starts playing well, he's versatile enough where he doesn't have to be on the ball. He could be off the ball and still affect it. But yeah, you know, I like that. And actually, the more I think about it, I think I would switch Tamar and Miller in the starting 5, because I think Tamar kind of is kind of where the ceiling's at for this IU team. I think you kind of know what Miller's going to give you. And while he didn't shoot well last year, I think maybe he comes off the bench and shoots a little bit better. But I don't think we quite know what Tamar is in college yet. I think we have an idea, and I think maybe it's a little bit too optimistic right now, but you know, he does bring that potential of creating his own shot and being a good shooter.
I mean, he was a 5-star, and there was off the court stuff that kept him off, I believe. I don't know. I believe there was off the court stuff. I hate to be wrong here, but you know, if he's able to if Woodson's able to kind of play him and he doesn't, he's not a net negative. Maybe he works through his struggles and maybe he becomes a good player for Indiana. So who knows? But actually, before we get into this last player, and I'm burying the lead hard because I want people to listen to this podcast all the way through. So I think I do want to talk about Kentucky's backcourt. I think the front court's pretty much set. I think, but when you're looking at that 1 to 2 spot, it is interesting. So right now we have 4 guys that are going to play that 1 and 2. So you got, you know, Severe declared that he's coming back. Cason Wallace, obviously 5-star. He's been in the top 10 all year, and then ESPN decided, you know what, he's not flashy enough. Whatever, we're going to drop him down to 20. Okay, and then you got CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves, 2 sharpshooters. So what Cal is going to do, and what he always has done, is he wants to play, you know, the best players and the people that would prefer to start, need to start. And so obviously you're getting Cason and Severe as your starting backcourt. My problem there, and maybe it doesn't really matter who starts, but it matters throughout the game what the rotation is. I think when you look at Severe and Cason, their philosophy, I mean, their defenders are going to get into you and they're going to hound the ball. And I think they're both good facilitators. And then you got CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves, not great defenders, but guys that can really light it up from 3. I think that you're going to give up a lot playing, you know, if you're playing Cason Wallace and Severe Wheeler together, you're going to give up a lot of shooting and scoring. If you play CJ Frederick and Antonio Reeves together, you're going to get destroyed, you know, by the opposing point guard. So I think they should definitely kind of stagger those 4 guards. And the last guy we're going to get into, I think if he ends up coming, I think they'll more put him at the 3. But I'm interested to what you think in my kind of theory. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, I think staggering them for those 4 would be a good idea. But what I would kind of push you on is, what if you played 3 of them in the starting lineup? What if you had Reeves, Wallace, and Severe? I mean, quite frankly think maybe those are your three best guards,
Yeah.
or wings. But you know how big of a Severe fan I am. I think that
You do love Severe. Yes.
I think
Yes.
he's the ideal college point guard.
Mhm.
I think he's everything you kind of want in a college point guard. And I think towards the end of the year, he was being asked to do too much in
Mhm.
that Kentucky offense. And I think Antonio Reeves will definitely help kind of relieve that. Where, I mean, towards the end, kind of Ty was supposed to be that in the middle,
Ty
and he
was
was.
that. Yes,
He
he
was
was.
that
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
middle. And then the injury happened. And then towards the end of the year, he just wasn't the same.
Mhm.
So I think, where they were at in the middle and where they were kind of that championship contender was where Severe was just creating and playing really good defense, and Ty was the one creating his own shot, taking people off the dribble.
Yeah.
And I think they're kind of getting back to that, or where they wanted to be with Antonio Reeves. And I think even Cason Wallace can create his own shot a little bit better than
Oh, 100%.
Ty
Yeah.
can. So, maybe at the beginning he brings Cason Wallace off the bench and Reeves plays the two just to kind of ease Wallace along, but I think eventually you'll see all three of them in the same lineup, and I think that might be the ideal lineup for Kentucky, because I don't know exactly the main issue, but I think what would benefit Kentucky the most, and you can definitely correct me, is if
Sure.
they had as much shooting around Oscar as possible to give him as much
Oh,
space
yeah.
as possible.
Mhm.
And I think
100%.
last year they didn't do that great.
Yeah.
I think Keon is a great player. I love Keon. Obviously, he played high school here in Indiana. He's all about the right things, but I don't think he stretched the floor enough for you guys
Mhm.
last year. And Grady obviously went cold towards the end of the year, and Ty wasn't the same. And Severe really can't shoot three, so you really had.
Although he was shooting at the end. So this is the craziest thing to me. At the last, I believe, 6 to 8 games, he was shooting 40% from three, which was ridiculous. And he was shooting a lot of them. So I don't think that's something that can be maintained for a year, but I think it showed promise that maybe he's not this guy that you can just like. I think it's more spacing. Like he doesn't, I'm not expecting him to shoot a million threes a game, but
Yeah.
I don't want the defense to be able to be in the at the free throw line like they're guarding Ben Simmons, and he's only 5'9", and if we got two bigs that can't shoot, then that means the paint is clogged and he can't get in, and
Right.
so I think that's something that's imperative, and I think bringing in Chris Livingston to maybe play that 4 spot, who showed probably like his shot looks fluid. It looks like something that could translate maybe. Then you got Toppin, who started hitting those long twos that I could definitely see turn into threes. That at the 4, I think it would be perfect. I really do. And but yeah, that's an interesting take. I never thought of it. If we're looking at it at this last guy, it's hard to think that you will have to do that. This last guy, I think, would fill that 3 spot, and his name is Baylor Shireman, the kid from South Dakota State, the team we all fell in love with against Providence. And so, I look 6'6" guy. He can run the 2 or the 3. He was South Dakota State's best player. He's cocky. He was a 47% or 46% 3-point shooter at South Dakota State. So now I gave the stats. He 7 rebounds a game as well, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But and now that I gave the stats, give me your takeaway from watching his film.
Yeah. Very high IQ player. I mean, very, very smart, very heady player. Knows what to do with the basketball, knows where to be, and you even saw some of it on defense. He kind of knows what the other team wants to do, and I think that's always a benefit when you're not super athletic, kind of knowing where people want to go, beat them to the spots. But yeah, very high IQ. Looking at him, unlimited range. I mean, you think Antonio Reeves is a good 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
This kid, as soon as he crosses half court, is a threat to score the ball, and multiple 3-point shots from the volleyball line and back, and it was like nothing. I mean, literally unlimited range, and for a kid
Yeah.
that size at 6'6", I mean, you see Trae Young and Steph do it, but they're barely cracking 6 foot, if that. And for him to do
Yeah.
it at 6'6" is even more impressive. What I was really impressed with though was he knows how to use angles and knows how to generate his body in the spots to get him open and create lanes to the basket. And it helps him get to his spot at ease. He kind of gets to where he wants to, even though he's not super athletic, and the people guarding him are way more athletic than he is. He still maneuvers his body. He uses really good footwork to kind of get them in spots behind him so he can get his shot up. Loves the step back. I thought that was kind of funny that him and Antonio Reeves were both very good step back shooters, but both of them use it like as a weapon. Like both their go-to shots on the perimeter, both step back. But very crafty scorer, really, really good passer if he needs to be. But most of the time at South Dakota State, they needed him to score the ball, so he was putting it in the basket. And I thought maybe some things is to improve on. Some of the shots he took were a little bit questionable, but I mean, you got to live with it when he's hitting those step backs. And obviously at South Dakota State, they probably needed him to shoot more often than not. And then I thought that athletic wings might cause him a little bit of an issue. You saw it a little bit in the Providence game. I thought maybe they caused him some issues, and I think Alabama gave him some issues early on. But the thing that impressed me from the Alabama game was the kid was 0 for 7 from 3, right? But he had 18 rebounds and 6 assists. Like he still impacted the game.
Yeah, he impacts the game whenever. Yeah,
like,
that's so impressive.
He's a little bit of a streaky shooter, and more often than not, he's hitting. But even when he's not, like, he's still contributing. He's still helping the team win. And you go to a Power 5 SEC top 25 team and 18 rebounds and 6 assists as the 6'6" guard.
Yeah,
I mean that's impressive. So my comp was, I thought he had shades of James Harden and shades of Luka Doncic. And I'm not going to say that he's this NBA All-Star, like MVP caliber player, but I think that the way the step back and the ability to get fouled and maneuver his body reminded me of Harden, and then his IQ and kind of how he played at his own pace reminded me a little bit of Luka. So that's kind of my comp there.
No,
and
so
let me ask you something. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're good.
So this kid's 6'6", but has the ability to rebound really well. What if you ran out a lineup? Let's say Kentucky gets him.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going, and I love it.
Shireman, Reeves, Wallace, Sevilla.
I love that lineup. That the problem is we have so many front court guys that need time. And I think Cal's going to be handcuffed into some stuff that he doesn't want to do. And I think that's an experiment that could be a death lineup down the run. That could definitely be like that Golden State when they were running Iguodala at the 4 and Draymond at the 5. Like that could definitely happen. Like I think that is more than capable. They're more than capable of doing that. And I think Oscar, being the guy he is, being the animal that he is, he can handle the pressure of the bigs inside. And like that team, like, look, I don't want to be, I don't want to hyperbolize this at all, but if you add Shireman, if any of these teams, if Duke, Kansas, any of them add Shireman, they're automatically the title favorite, in my opinion, because this guy just kind of moves the needle. I'm not saying he'll be the best player on any of those teams. I don't think he will, but he moves the needle so much. And this is a guy who's in the draft right now that probably could get drafted, but he wants to improve that stock that much and be in that first round. And I think he could. I really do think he could because of how just lights out shooter he is. And if he's off, he can still create for himself. He can still impact the team, which is huge. Like if you watch the first half of the Providence game, and this is the first time like he was putting himself out there to the national audience. He was awesome. Like he was a superstar out there. Like he was throwing the behind the back cross court pass, and then you had the shooting that, oh my God, he was awesome. He was incredible. And look,
he's an NBA player.
He's an NBA player. Yes. And I think obviously Providence had that Minaya on him, who's obviously a great defender, great perimeter defender. And they kind of caught up to him a little bit, but he still had 18 in the game. Like he still had 18 and he was the number one option. And I hate to do this because he was so great in college, but this is the only comp I have. He's Doug McDermott. He's Doug McDermott at Creighton, man. Like the stuff that he's able to do, like
I think he's a little bit better off the bounce though. and off the
Okay.
dribble.
Yeah.
I think he can put it on the floor and score in more ways than Doug can, where I think Doug was more limited to the three, where I think this kid's a little bit more crafty.
Yeah. Yeah. No, dude, I think this kid is incredible. He was the reason I wanted to do the scouting report podcast. We don't do this that often, and I don't know how the audience will react, but I think this is awesome. Like, I think I love getting into nerdy basketball and kind of this, just looking at comps and analyzing players. And so this is my favorite player in the portal by far. I'm so happy that Kentucky reached out, and I'm so happy they're recruiting him this hard. I've never seen him go this hard at a player and for a long time. Like, it has been a while since they've done that. And I think they're at a premium advantage because Duke doesn't have any spots open. Arkansas doesn't have any spots open. And look, I heard, this could be completely wrong, I heard his agent is like a Kentucky fan. Like, when asked about Kentucky, his agent was saying all this nice stuff about him or about the program. And I was like, this would be an incredible ad. And like, nobody's going to replace Shaedon Sharpe. And I'm not saying Shaedon Sharpe is gone yet because but I kind of am saying that Shaedon Sharpe is gone. But this adding him and Reeves is about as good of a replacement in an offseason as you can get. Like, that quick of a turnaround, boom, got it done.
And I think their willingness to go for Reeves, and I think Reeves committing and then them going for Shireman kind of signals that they think Shaedon's gone. I don't think they would have gone that hard for both of them and had the ability to get both of them if Shaedon's back. But I mean, if you recruit Shaedon Sharpe with Reeves and Shireman, you come out on top.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, we have the scholarship open. Nobody's going to play over Shaedon Sharpe. If eligibility issues come about with the draft, like, I think they would welcome him back with open arms. And so I know they would, but I don't know about like the players around him. I think they'd be fine with it. I think that they can find a way on the court. Like, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Look, man, this team could be special. And it doesn't, if we get Shireman, it doesn't revolve around Sharpe being there anymore. I think we are a straight up contender just adding him, in my opinion.
I think that you look at any of those 5 teams, those big 5 teams that add him, I think you could make a case that any of them are title favorites. And even though Kansas has lost a lot and Texas has lost a lot, I think him as kind of your centerpiece and then getting some other players around him, and they both have pretty good recruiting classes. I think you could make the argument by the end of the year that they could be one of those top 5, top 10 teams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Bryson, I know it's kind of a short episode, but no, not really. It was long enough. But Bryson, thank you for coming on. I'm gonna rush out and post this as soon as possible because we have a very special interview coming out for you guys tomorrow. So again, Bryson, thank you for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of different type of episode. We might have to do some more. Look, I think the deadline to enter the portal is Sunday. So I think on Sunday, look, we're going to know everybody who's in the portal, and we can do kind of a macro one, not just revolving around the Kentucky and Indiana targets. I know there's a lot of guys in this portal. The top 10 looks like a very good, not as good as last year. So I'm expecting some more to enter, but I mean, you look at this guy that just entered the portal from Chattanooga. Bryson, I know, was a big Chattanooga guy, so he knows a little bit about those guys. So,
yep.
But yes, thank you for joining me, Bryson. That was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I love you guys.
30 seconds at midcourt.
Jenkins.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Watford for the win! Yes! Yes!
And the superior team all season long was the superior team tonight. And the Kentucky coronation is complete. Champions 2012.